there that just didn't work out for him, and I'm sure he's got another one planned for Habitation Station.
Definitely a map we've seen a lot of aggression on in the past.
It's a really short rust distance, so I don't think gold bases are going to factor into this.
No, probably not.
Just too tough. It's already tough enough as it is to take an expansion. And then even a third base is a bit tougher. And the third base that you could take instead is so much further away. So you likely not going to see the gold base there. It's got a ramp, but still.
I don't think you want to do that. The minerals are pretty close to the edge of it anyways. So if you do try to take it, your opponent can even go for anything that flies or Colossus and mess up your economy. I don't think gold bases are much worth it here on this map.
Yeah, especially because Protoss versus Protoss, gas is the most important resource. Billowy needs to tie this up 1-1. Our trap is going to go 2-0 into that. One of our last 3 Coda spot. Yeah.
There's only 4 spots left. Right in the top right of our map. He won the last game. Can he close it out? He is.
Trap.
Solid player. Definitely Code S material.
Yeah, he is. He's not. I don't normally rank him highly, but
his opponent is
Billowy.
Like highly in Code S, that is. He's done well in Code S in the past.
He has a lot of potential, and he was one of the better players to switch, and that's why I thought he was going to be like champion level material potentially at first, but he never just had his moment. Like Zest had his moment, right? Parting has definitely been having his moment for a while.
Yeah. Well, I would say specifically with Trap, why he was one of the better players that switched over, is because when he switched over, PvZ was pretty hard, and his timing attacks were actually better executed than almost anyone's. Like, maybe Parting still did it better, but Trap was one of the very best at killing a Zerg off of 2 bases, and that was very important at the time. And then, you know, when he kind of, like, his other skills caught up a little bit, it was the season where Deer was just godly, and he crushed him in a PvP series. I believe it was in the round of 8? Yeah, I believe it was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of rough, and now here we are. You know, a lot of Protosses are doing well. He's kind of getting swept away in that current of not being noticed quite as much for his accomplishments, but still, as we've seen in that last game, a very strong player.
Yeah, and even in the first best of 3, looking good there.
Yeah.
So, we have very mirrored builds here in this time. No faster cores, and Trap scouted for proxies, didn't actually go across the map until now. They're both going to go across and scout, see how much gas has been mined. Not a whole lot to scout in PvP at that moment, but you just find out if anything weird's going on, and you try to check their pile-on locations. In the case of Billowy, he's going to get the information actually that there's a Zealot being made, and actually the probe of Trap will see the second gateway.
Alright, so
it's going to go double stalker here.
Indeed. Well, do you think he's going to go into a Blink build, or do you think he's going to go into Stargate?
Billowy, I think he's going to go into Stargate because Blink is not that useful on this map, except for like an attack at the natural. There's no way to backstab Blink, and there's not a lot of maneuverability that Blink gains you.
It's not too good at like just killing your opponent off, but it still can be good against Stargate, which is such a common opening on this map that we still sometimes see.
True, and it's also like, I mean, it is a somewhat mobile composition, and if your opponent tries to expand, you can fight Blink, you know, using your Blinks as defensive maneuvers. It is Stargate that comes out for Trap here.
No big surprise there.
And there's the double stalker coming out for Billowy, so he's going to be very aggressive with this and make sure he can, I'd say, get a good idea of what's coming his way. Nexus, or the Mothership Core, excuse me, will be driven away.
This probe, though, getting a fantastic scout off. He sees the Chrono Boost on Warp Gate. He sees a second gateway that's pretty late overall, and he sees the Stargate. So he sees absolutely everything going on for his opponent at the moment. And ooh, this attack is ill-fated for sure.
Oh yeah. Wow.
That was never really going to do anything.
He saw the second gate too. Like, I don't know why he thought that was going to work.
Yeah, that's it may have been because there are 2 gateway like safety expands.
Like the Creator Sentry expand?
Sure. I don't normally give it to Creator as his build, but definitely sounds like someone who would do that a lot. But yeah, I mean, that is a build that's not too uncommon. So if there were like sentries there, for instance, he would have found out a ton. As is, he just sees some stalkers.
Do you think that adding 2 sentries here that he adds right now to hold this Nexus is really the right choice?
I think it's okay because he already killed off a unit and damaged another, pushed his opponent back. He scouted what was going on, so like he knows that there's going to be an Oracle on the way, so he can already defend that. I think that the sentries are a good choice. Like getting 2 sentries or 3 sentries, you need to do if you want to go into a longer PvP because you need the hallucinations to scout. And of course, force fields are very useful.
For me, I'm not so sure about it because he didn't know what tech his opponent was going to rate. If he goes Stargate, the sentries...
Oh, he got a probe up and saw the Stargate.
Okay, so, well, if he sees a Stargate, the sentries are not, like, as useful against a Stargate opening.
Yeah, that's true.
And then they're not useful really against Blink Stalkers on the wide ramp if they're going to attack your natural. And certainly, I mean, they're pretty useful against DTs if you get that force field up, but you don't need this many sentries for that. They already even warped in a 3rd one.
Yeah. Well, you know, again, if you go into a longer game in PvP, minimum 2 sentries you have to have. And a lot of players go for the 3rd because here you go, that Phoenix, that hallucinated Phoenix, you can just scout nonstop. And if you know what your opponent is doing throughout a PvP, then it's pretty hard to die, right? Because you can always counterattack.
I think part of it may have been, and I'm really... We don't see this all too often. I don't in Pro League and in the matches I've cast see this, and I think it might have been just also because he had a bank in gas and he wanted to have a little bit more anti-air to deal with possible, you know, the Oracles that he suspected was coming, and he's like, I don't know if he had enough resource to actually make more Stalkers, so I think that might have factored into it too.
It definitely could have. That's a possibility. That was a nice use of that Oracle. I quite liked that. Yeah,
a little bit surprising Billowy stayed around there. So he just keeps scouting. He's got a ton of energy with how early he got those sentries, and he's just going to keep being able to find out what his opponent's doing, his timings. You know, his Forge comes up just a little bit later. His Robotics comes up just a little bit later as well.
Well, you know, this is part of scouting your opponent out. You can make everything right afterwards and be completely fine.
Yeah, as long as you're not too far behind, it's okay.
Yeah.
The worker count is actually pretty similar, and this game is starting to even up really, really fast. The Oracle is an extra tool that Trap has that he's going to be able to continue to use. Even though it only got 2 kills, it's just so useful to scout, you know, and also to tag if that comes up.
Well, it'll probably end up getting a few more kills throughout the course of this game as well. We do have Twilights for both players here. Once again, Billowy is a little bit slower on everything. And in fact, Trap getting in here with this Oracle once again. And a really nice set of 3 probe kills and out. And also forces all that energy from the Mothership Core. No, some great play from Trap.
If ever Billowy moves out to without any cannon setup or any defense at home, then he's going to be able to get more kills. And if he does leave, say, 2 Stalkers at his base, the Oracle could still force kills, and that's 2 Stalkers that aren't with his army that he's moving out with.
Indeed. So. That is a very important point to bring up. Having an Oracle on the map, the fear of the Oracle it's definitely real. You have to have something to defend. Like, minimum, you're going to force a cannon in both lines.
Yeah, and the cannon, of course, useful later on because of Zealot harassment and DTs, but the faster you force that cannon, the better, you know, before that sort of thing is necessary. Now, the question here, I think, in this game is going to be who takes the 3rd base first.
Yeah, that is exactly it, because they're going for the exact same unit compositions. You notice that their probe count is pretty much the same if Trap hadn't killed that 1 probe with his Oracle. And this means that, you know, it's going to be hard to take that base. Notice more gates being added, and this should be being done likely on Billowy's side as well, because one thing's for sure, if your opponent gets ahead on that gateway count, they are going to have a higher chance of breaking you.
Yeah, the Zealot warp ends with charge are often game deciding. You know, yeah, you're going to have a few Archons first. Both players are making 2 right now. But when you do that fight, if you have the faster reinforcements too, that can be a game changer. When the game is so close and the compositions are so even with each other, I mean, they're almost unit for unit exactly the same right now. If you look at the tab, you can almost draw a line of symmetry between these two. We have 1 more Immortal for Trap. I think there's another one on the way for Billowy anyways.
Well, there's 1 more Archon for Billowy as well.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's like a slight variations, but the overall idea is the same.
When your armies look like this and you're playing against each other, 2 things matter the most. 1, the Mothership Core. You need to get the right time warps down. It's super important. Number 2 is the Immortal count. Immortals actually beat Archons heads up. They do fine damage against Zealots. The Immortals are always what's left over at the battle.
Yeah.
They're
immortal
unit here. They seem to be a lot of the time.
They are the important unit. The Zealots are the tanks, and they're the immortal killers. If you can get the Zealots on the immortal with a good time warp, get that surround off. It looks like Trap has to back up here. This next is absolutely not going to be going up.
Billowy, he actually cut his immortal production a little bit short, got a few more extra units, and then decided to go in. So definitely had an army supply lead right there. Now this is a little bit more dangerous. A pretty decent time warp going down, though. Yeah,
he's just going to try to break through here, and the feedback is late on the militia, of course, so those time warps going down. The Archons on the back, though, not really able to fire, but it looks like he may still have enough.
Well,
the Archon's tanking a lot.
Going. Yeah, and it looks like more units coming up for Billowy.
Yeah, the Zealots are just going to come up here and I think push him back.
They may indeed, and with these Archons still left alive for Billowy, the Zealot Warpins here from Trap are not as effective, but he has more Immortals left over here at the end, and that is very important.
It's important, plus he has that Nexus Cannon that keeps him alive just barely. That's one of the closest PvP engagements we've ever seen.
Yeah, it was super, super close. Good run away from Billowy, though. It was about to not go in his favor as well.
You know, Protoss units are so strong against Protoss units that sometimes a game just is decided by one slight edge. It goes into an overwhelming favor. 5 Archons here to 1, and that's going to be possibly the deciding factor if they can all start firing, and they are.
Well, he's trying to bust through these Zealots. The thing is, there are 4 Immortals behind here, so even if they get through his opponent's Zealots, as long as Zealots aren't connecting with the Immortals of Trap, he's going to be able to destroy those Archons.
It's like he's decided Archon Zealot is the way to end this game.
Well, he's the one trying to be the aggressor here, and you can't warp in Immortals. So he's got to just use gateway units. These are going to be the ones he can make the most of. But again, the Immortal is the most important unit in these two compositions fighting each other.
Well, I almost feel like he just needs to start a Stargate and get a fleet beacon up or something, like, because he's not going to be able to catch up in Immortals. That's going to take a long time. And
well, if he chrono boosts Immortals non-stop, right, and he's got like a good gateway-sized army, lots of charge lots, lots of Archons, he can sit in arcs like outside of chokes.
Yeah, and he can stop the third base for a while.
He can be defensive long enough to get enough Immortals that I think he'll be completely fine. Like, I think here Trap actually takes a third. Attacking, he wouldn't be able to kill his opponent even though he has more Immortals.
No, I just mean that I feel like Billowy's composition is just a bit lopsided. Like, he's going to take a while to build the Immortals that he needs. The word escaped me for a second, but he has way more Archons, so he doesn't need to spend any more gas on that, which also means that he has more gas available to him for upgrades. That Oracle has been so useful this game, constantly is backstabbing.
13 kills?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
He just keeps going in. So more Archons, actually. He's like just decided Archon is the way to go.
Well, it will evaporate Zealots, and if you look at this army of Trap, it is very Zealot-based. So he's got to be careful with what he chooses to do with this army. If he moves too far out on the map, in a big open area, I got to favor the army of Billowy a little bit more.
Does Trap have +3? I don't think so.
Or even in a choke. No, they both have +2 attack right now.
But the +3 is much faster for Billowy.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't get to see that, but wow, that's actually
so that
definitely a big deal.
Could be a pretty big game changer here. This Oracle's going to get more kills, by the way.
This Oracle has been just ludicrous this game. It has done so much for him.
All right,
forcing him to even warp in a Stalker. Like, he wants every Stalker possible to be warped in.
Immortal. Well, no, it's an Archon in there. That's going to do a lot of AoE damage to any probes nearby, and any Zealots for the defense.
Yeah, and warping in more Zealots as well. You know that normally they do send Zealots back to clean up, or warp in Zealots to clean it up. And this Archon doing a great job against that, or will do.
Oh, that's actually so smart. I really like this choice. I mean, he's just going to do so well against these Zealots that are all bunched up, and he knows exactly how this works. He's done it so many times with these drops. Well, he ends up losing it, but still, the idea was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was kind of neat by Trap, actually. I do like how he's playing this game out, I have to say. Like, I'm very impressed with how Trap is playing. Very, very smart. And notice how he continues to make Immortals. I love it. I love it. I love it. Just such a powerful composition he's getting.
It's hard to transition into Tempest at this point for either player. There's not a bank yet. And you know, Tempest would help against all the Archons on the ground, but I mean, if you could start sniping them, but it's just like, I mean, that is so many Archons.
It is.
That's 9, 10 Archons now.
Let's not forget that Immortals actually do beat Archons. So I think maybe one of the scary things, these are the two scary things for Trap. How quickly his Zealots will die because of the Archon splash, and if they die too quickly and a bunch of the Zealots of Billowy actually get to him. to his Immortals.
How many gates does Billowy have? Not that many, actually. So Warpin and Zealots to finish things off are not going to be as easy. I feel like Trap has more gates. I'm not 100% sure about that.
I think they're pretty close in gate count, but I'm not exactly sure.
All right, here we go. He actually comes from basically all the 3 ramps that he could attack from. The Immortals doing damage from behind. And does he have enough to break through here? His Zealots not quite going to get through
these
there.
Immortals are just crushing face. Look at them just destroy everything here. You really
right,
see the power of this unit. It's like, well, when you play without Colossus against each other, even when Colossus are there, Immortals are the most important unit in PvP, in my opinion.
Well, you're clearly right. I wasn't when you said that. I thought, you know, that sounds right, but I don't see that many Colossus-less PvPs. But it turns out they're like way better than Archons to have.
Oh yeah, they are what wins you the game. That's like when the 2 armies are super similar like that. You can count the gateways to see how many Zealots or whatnot can be worked in. If that's pretty similar, look at the upgrades, things like that. Like, do they both have the Mothership Core? How many Time Warps each? But really, really important as well is that Immortal count, because as you see, the Immortals are dealing ridiculous damage.
Well, that's it. Trap goes to Code S. So very solid play there. Clearly having a better understanding of how to build the late game composition. I think Billowy just doesn't play late game PvP as much as some of these other players because he's normally the one who's aggressive.
You know what? That's what you were saying before. And when he's trying to go for some of these expands, it's not really working out for him. So, but I do have to say, Trap's PvP was really, really nice. He did some great defense. I'm just very impressed overall. Yeah. Really well done by Trap. Very well deserved.
Very good series by him. After a quick break, guys, we are going into our losers match, Zerg versus Zerg, to find out who's not going to Code S.